Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today with the final sketch. This is sketch 20 of Allison Davis's 6x6 paper pad sketches. Again, I can't show you the sketch, but this is my layout based on that sketch. So originally the sketch calls for 2 4x6 photos and then 4 4x3 photos. So I have the 4x3 photos on the left, but I opted to change the 2 4x6s to 2, I guess these are going to be 3x12s. Is that right? No. Six wide. So whatever size those long skinny photos are. And then in the sketch there are 3 clusters of circles. And so instead of going with circles, you can see where their 3 large circles are. I've got those 3 large wreaths. They're fall wreaths. And then there are multiple different sized circles around that. And instead of going with circles, I've gone with these 3 large flowers from Vicki Boutin. That is from the Stamp and Die set from her new collection, Storyteller. And what I'm doing here is I'm using her art crayons, so Vicki Boutin's art crayons, to color in these circles. So I've got that first circle that I just showed you, which is more of an orangey based flower. Now I am working on a yellowy based flower, and then I'm going to work on a bluey green based flower, and I'm tying each of the colors. So you'll see I've got a little bit of red and orange incorporated into this, and at the end I will put even more red into it, and then I will so all I'm doing is I'm putting down a foundation color, and then I'm adding either more orange or more red or more brown to it, and I just keep layering the colors. And I'm not really worried about where it's going. I just want to mix up the colors so that there is some variety in the flower, and it almost looks like some shading and some depth to give the flower more of a 3D look by having that different depth of color that moves throughout the image. Really, I love this. It stamps so crisply, and I have stamped on Gina K. It's 110 weight, I think. It may be 120 weight luxury weight white paper, and I love the crisp edge that the manual die provides for that. I'm going to work primarily with Vicki Boutin, but then I am going to throw in some of my Ellie Studio. I know this is a fall layout, and I know the colors of my Ellie Studio. This is from my September kit, and I wanted to incorporate those same colors that I've already used here from the Vicki Boutin into my layout. So this is the third flower that I'm working on that's kind of greeny blue, and when you look at it, it's predominantly green with blue, again providing those shadows and that depth to the flower there. So those again are going to factor in as some circles, or as instead of circles. And then instead of the other circles, you can see that I've already put on the layout. I fussy cut those leaves. Those are from one of Vicki Boutin's pattern papers, and I fussy cut a few of those, and then the rest of what I'm going to use is actually my Ellie Studio stash from the September kit, and then some other goodies that I have found. So really kind of a simple layout. What's most labor intensive about this is this mixed media, using the art crayons to color in, kind of watercolor, these flowers. It also did take quite a bit of time to find the 3 different wreaths and get the right size in there for the layout. It also took some time to size down these photos. I hate my printing system currently. I had an HP printer that I loved for home printing for color photos, and I had figured out I'd mastered the colors. I have been working with this new system, so I replaced that, I want to say, with an Epson. And then I also have one of those Canon, I think it's a Selfie, one of the desk printers that does 4x6 and 5x7. That prints better on glossy, and I don't really like glossy photos, so I'm still kind of trying to find something that will print my indoor photos really well. So my photos on the right hand side were perfect, but my photos on the left hand side, because they're indoor and have a very orange hue to them, they never print very well, and I'm still trying to, anyway, find something to do with that. So I finished my mixed media. I've already got these die cut pieces and these fussy cut flowers. So I'm going to lay down the foundation for the layout, and then it is time to just add my embellishments to this, sort of jazz it up a little bit. There would be nothing wrong with it as it is, but I like to have a little bit more. So you'll see with that blue wreath there with the pine cones, when I create 2-page layouts, I like to have something that crosses the 2 pages that just ties it together for me. Sometimes we can create pages that are 2 pages where they're distinct right and left, and you can almost see that it's the same subject, but maybe you could pull the 2 layouts apart. This is not one of those because the title is on the right-hand side and the journaling is on the left-hand side. And while they would look okay separate and distinct, I like that uniting element. And so that wreath there is what ties it together, especially given that the photos don't really meld into one another. And you have 4x3 photos on the left, and then my whatever size I can't determine what it is on the right-hand side. Can you tell math is not my forte? So yeah, they're definitely 3 inches tall, and then if I did my math and I did 3 by 8 photos. So this wreath that I'm messing with here didn't cut properly, and so I laid it down and I didn't like the way that I laid it down, and so I did pull it up again. And that's what I love about my ThermoWeb Gina K dot adhesive, is that you can put it down and it does come back up pretty easily without having any problems. So this does have 2 leaves, this little cluster over here on the left hand side. I just liked, because of the darkness of the blue, I wanted some weight to make that weight from something else, from some other element that didn't make it feel so heavy there. So I'm trimming off the edges of the wreaths, making sure that everything is stuck down before I trim it, because sometimes what happens is it's not stuck down and you trim it and then it comes off and you're trying to figure out where it belongs is sometimes interesting. I thought maybe I could incorporate that other part of the leaf into the layout, but it looks funny because it really does need those 2 large sort of elements that create some cascading. So these are the innards of the bottom left wreath, but I thought that they looked fun on the page, that just as leaves that add more color and contrast of color to the layout, and so I'm just going to use those as further embellishments. You can see on the bottom left that I have cut out my title, which is Thankful. I have cut it from that stripe from LE Studio, and that was originally going to be the title in that, but it's very hard to read with the stripes going the way they are, but I really liked it backed with that Vicki Boutin maroon backed with that LE Studio stripe. It really provides a nice contrast to those, and that little pop of teal down the bottom just really adds a nice finishing touch to both the title and the look of the layout. So that is also from Vicki Boutin Storyteller, and that is the 6x8 paper pad. So you can see the collection of LE Studio goodies that I have just sitting at the bottom of the frame there. There's a couple of labels and various other bits, die cuts from the kit, as well as some of the wood veneer. I like the way that the wood veneer sits against the craft cardstock that I'm using here. That is a little bit of a leftover card that I used in a recent layout, and I'm digging through my circle punches here to just make a circle punch out of that so that I have a few of the circle shapes that create that movement across the page there. And I really like that white. I know it's a stark contrast to the kind of more dingy colors that I've already used, but what I like about the white in that label that I'm going to put my journaling, as well as that white that's in that circle that I just punched out, is that it ties in with that white border that goes all the way around the photos, and so it adds a little bit of lightness to the page. So those were already circles that were in the pattern paper from Vicki, and I am just going to scatter those throughout the layout. Again, not that it needed them, but more just for unity of color and to kind of tie everything together. And I like the way that the movement of those 3 clusters moves through the photos, through the journaling, up to the top, down through the title, kind of to that right-hand side over there. So creates that movement across the page. Now, I love the way that this turned out, but I'm struggling with that cluster at the left there with that orange label from LA Studio for my journaling. I felt like I needed more than just the label there. So I have that phrase underneath that says big smiles for this, and you can see that maroon with the heart label. It just looks funny because you've got this cluster of sharp edges with these other clusters of round softness, and it just really stands out, especially because it's white. So I'm going to fix that in a little bit, but you can see what I like to do is when I struggle with something is I move on to something else, hoping that those ideas will help me solidify what I want to do with the part that I'm struggling with. So my solution to that is to put a smaller rectangle, which isn't really a viable solution. You're going to see I'm going to stick it in there, but later on I'm going to take care of it because, again, like that is perfect. But where I put in that maroon label, it just, again, draws attention to the sharp corners versus round soft edges. See that? What was I thinking? I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking, but clearly I changed my mind. So more of those circles just being incorporated into the layout, and that pretty much wraps it up. Again, I don't like that teal, so I'm going to come back to that. A few that just says warm and cozy, again for a little bit of shot of white there, and there you can see I removed it and it looks so much better. Now I have two pieces of wood veneer here, and I'm struggling with that as well, and I feel like because I've got these three clusters, while each of the clusters is slightly different, that I need something else. So I've got these leaves, and while I end up more than one piece, you can see how each of the clusters has at least one piece of wood veneer, which makes it a little bit more cohesive for me. And I like the way that it's kind of drawn more into the page. So you see me pulling it together. That's my fingers coming together, pulling it together. So this, my friends, is my last sketch for Sketches for 6x6 paper pads. This will be the last planned two-page layout, but I've really enjoyed doing them, so I will definitely find a way to try and get more two-page layouts into my videos. Be sure to leave me a thumbs up if that's something that you would like to see more of, is more two-page layouts. The close-ups are coming. You're going to see the left page, the right page, and then more close-ups. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for stopping in today. Can't wait to see you again soon. Take care.